Hi, my name is David. Today we're going to do number 463, island perimeter. This is an easy level problem on LeetCode. I'm going to solve it in JavaScript. In this prompt, we're giving a function that takes in a grid. And this grid is an array, a 2D array, an array within an array. And inside the inner array, it can only have 0 or 1s. So we here, 0, 1. And if it's a 0, it represents water. If it's a 1, it represents land. And it's a grid. And this is like a visual representation of this prompt. And it wants us to return the perimeter of the island here. So for this exercise, they highlighted yellow, the perimeter. And basically, perimeter is just adding, and these all have a side of 1. And you add all these up, and you get 16. So there's a very clever way of solving this, is that first we loop through the grid. And then whenever we see a 1, we can add to the perimeter 4, because that's the maximum possible perimeter it has. And then if we and then we compare it, so if there's 1 next to it or 1 before it or above it, we can just -2 to subtract that overlapping grid from each other. So to solve this with the pseudocode, first thing we want to do is that we want to create the perimeter variable. Create perimeter variable. Next, we want to loop through grid. And inside this, we want to do a nested loop through inner array. And we have to create a condition if value is 1, meaning it's an island, we will have to add perimeter by 4. And then we create the other if statements saying that if it's before or after, we -2. If the block before is 1, we subtract perimeter by 2. And then we do the other case if the block above is 1, then we also subtract perimeter by 2. And then lastly, we just return perimeter. Okay, so first we create the variable that perimeter equals 0. And now we loop through the grid for that I equals 0, I is less than grid dot length, I plus plus. And now we do the inner loop for that j equals 0, j is less than grid index I dot length, j plus plus. And now we create the condition if this current value grid I j is equal to 1, we want to increment the perimeter plus equal to 4. And then we have the other conditions if so we can check the block to the left. So if grid index I j minus 1 is equal to 1, you want to subtract perimeter. Can't spell perimeter. Minus equal to 2. And then we also put a bounds entry as well. So we know that j is greater than 0 because it will j minus minus 1 here. So it's just putting a parameter that it can't go over here. And then we do the same for the above it, if. And now above it, we want to use the I is greater than 0 as a bound. And grid I minus 1 j equals to 1. You just substitute that in. And then now we look at the end of it. Return parameter. There we go. So for the time complexity, we're looping through this grid, n being the length of this grid, and then this could fluctuate a lot to this length. So it's going to be n times m being the length of the inner array. And then the space complexity, since we're just creating this one parameter variable, is going to be O of 1. So that is how we solve this problem. Thank you.